If you're running webinars direct to checkout with no salesperson involved, I'm gonna show you in this video how you can double your revenue mastering the Ascension model. My name is Michael, and at the middle of 2026 right now, we're on pace to run over 400 webinars for our clients. So if you're somebody who's a coach, consultant, and you wanna master webinars, this is the spot. So the Ascension model. Right now, if you're running direct to cart, you're probably selling something that's either between 500 to maybe 1,500 bucks. So running direct to checkout is not easy to be extremely profitable in scale. Most of the time we find that you're breaking even, or maybe you're at a 1.5x ROAS. So that means that if you want to really scale your business, you want to hit $1 million plus a month, you're going to have to be spending $500,000, $700,000, $800,000, right? And that's not feasible for most people, unless you want to risk your $800,000 and you got a credit card big enough. So what do you need to do? You need to figure out how you master the Ascension model. And you need to use the direct to checkout low ticket as just the starting point to vet the people who are ready for your high ticket program. And I'm gonna show you what you need to do and how you can tweak your current model so you can start doing this within the next week. So what is an Ascension model? The Ascension model just means that you're gonna be ascending people up to the next level. But the problem oftentimes is when people try to do these Ascension models, they just don't do them correctly. But the main problem when people try to do these Ascension models is that when people hop on the call to ascend, there's not enough value in the product above in order to ascend them up. Because oftentimes all you're trying to do in the beginning is capture a little bit of money from the person so that they can pay you, right? And so once they pay you, they've basically told you that they're interested in your product and they're a qualified lead. But what happens is on these webinars, most people will stack that product. They'll give them the course, they'll give them calls, they'll give them all the resources. And so when that person goes to ascend into a product that's, let's say $7,000, $8,000, they're like, wait, should I pay another $7,000 for like maybe a couple extra calls? You're like, no, it's not worth it, right? And so you have to really master forming and building the gap between your product and the Ascension. So the first thing to your Ascension model, number one, is the mindset around it. Now, once I changed how I looked at the Ascension model, I looked at the low ticket webinar model, it completely changed how I look at scaling this, right? And so typically when you're doing this, if you're somebody who doesn't really have an Ascension model in place, you're trying to make as much money as you can on the webinar itself. And the hard thing about that is that since it's so low ticket, by the time somebody signs up for the webinar, they show up to the webinar and they get all the way to the pitch, that cost per pitch is so expensive that it's very difficult for you to get anywhere past like a 2x ROAS on the front. Now, there are times when, yes, we've had a 4x plus on the front, right? We have a client that sells everything only direct, but it's not really normal, right? And so what you have to do is really reframe how you look at this Ascension model. And you have to stop worrying about making a 2, making a 3, making a 4, because all that's gonna do is start to inhibit you from actually scaling this, right? And so the first step is mindset. Really look, and I know mindset's boring, like I don't want to talk about mindset a lot, but really like reframing. Maybe let's not call it mindset, let's call it reframing, right? So reframing how you think about these webinars. And so the way that I like to look at this is I like to look at the goal is just a 1x ROAS at scale, right? At first, if you're at a 1.5, 2, great. But when you get to spending $20,000, $30,000 on these webinars, all I care about is I'm just trying to break even. Because what this means is that your ad spend is completely covered, right? You literally do not spend any money on ads. So if you can spend, let's just say for example, you can spend 10K on the webinar, you get 10 sales, you basically spend 0 on your ads, right? So now what you have are 10 people who have purchased from you, given you money, and now it's time to take all of those people to the next tier. And so when you're reframed with this mentality, you're not so worried about, hey, how do we make money on the front? It's more of how do we get as many people to buy as possible, because we know that X percentage of the people are going to go to the next level. And so this gets a little bit easier as you've been running it for a few months, because then you know what's called your lifetime value, right? You know what your average order value is of each person. And so you can basically say, hey, we know that if we get 10 people to buy, our sales team will close 40% of them. And just to be clear, these close a lot easier. So somebody who spent $1,000 with you, your sales team is not going to be closing at a 10, 15% as if somebody were just booking a call straight off a webinar. These people already spent $1,000. They should be closing at minimum 30%. We like to see 30 to 40% of these, right? And so if they're closing at 30, 40%, you know that you can spend more money on the front and even sometimes lose money on the front because you know that X% upgrade in the back. So let's go back to the same example. You spent $10,000 on a webinar. You had 10 people buy at $997. You've just got your $10,000 back. So you've got your 10K back. Now, you have 10 people here and 10 sales calls. Now, with this, you want to see at least a 30 to 40%. So that equals, let's just say on the low end, 3 people. Most products nowadays, any kind of high ticket, is typically going to be about I'd say between 5 and 7,000. I'm seeing 7,000 a lot more due to inflation, due to the cost of ads. Number one, like that's getting really expensive, obviously. And most people are willing to pay 7K. Back in the day, it was like everything was 5K. But right now, let's say it's at 7K, you're looking at 21K, right? And so what you did here was you essentially spent nothing on the ads to make infinite return on investment on your 20K. This is the reframe that I want you to have when you look at low ticket Ascension, because if you can look at it this way, you can be comfortable with spending 20,000 and breaking even on the front, knowing that you have this 30% upgrade rate to make nearly infinite revenue on the back. Now, as you scale, of course, as like everything, you're going to start to drop a little bit of ROAS, right? So it's always nice to have a little bit of a healthy cushion, being at least like a 1.5-ish when you're spending about $10,000. But you can look at it like literally that 10K instead of, that's how most people look at it. They'll look at 10K equals 21K, right? So they say, oh, that's a 2.1x, right? Which doesn't sound great. But what I like to do is I like to reframe, like I said, of thinking of that 10K that we got back is literally supposed to just cover ad spend. The whole goal of breaking even on these low ticket is to cover ad spend. And so the purpose is to cover that ad spend. And so let's say, for example, instead of you closing 10 people on that webinar, you closed 8, right? So that means you're 2K down, right? But what we look at is I look at that as that's $2,000 that I spent on this webinar in spend. And knowing that we're going to do the same thing, let's say we're going to close 3 people, that's going to turn into 21K. And so instead of us looking at this as a 2.1x, we're going to be looking at this as a 10x, right? Now, yes, you may say that's not really a 10x, but when you look at it this way, you can be more confident in actually spending money and scaling. That's what I want to get through right here, is that this reframe gives you the opportunity to say, wait a second, if I look at this as the spend of whatever's left after the 997, I now can see that, wait, I have a 10x on the leftover spend. Now you can say, hey, I can spend $50,000 on this and get back $40,000. I only spent 10K, but guess what I have? I have 40 people who just bought from me that we're going to be ascending to the next level. And this is how people are spending $300,000-$400,000 a month, right? Getting 80% of it back, and then they're making $1 million plus a month, right? This is the low ticket Ascension model. So the first step is that mindset, that reframe that I want you to think about, right? The second thing is, how do you actually get these people to ascend? What is the process and the structure? And so what we found works best is during your webinar, you're going to offer onboarding. That's a terrible onboarding, but you're going to offer onboarding, an onboarding call, right? And so the cool thing about offering an onboarding call during the webinar is that it becomes a really, really good bonus. And so when you're going through your pitch, let's say, for example, we're doing a 997 offer, right? You're gonna say, hey, and as an added bonus, we're gonna give you a $1,000 onboarding call completely free to get you set up, to talk to one of our representatives so that you're ready 100% hitting the ground running, right? They'll strategize with you, talk about your goals, talk about your business. That way you can get the most out of this. And you're like, we usually do these consultations for $1,000, but we'll give it to you bonus for free. So not only is this, it's a bonus, but it's also a sales call. It's $1,000. They paid you $1,000 to hop on the phone with you. That's why these Ascension models are so cool when you can do these right. And so really, really important is number 2, set up that onboarding call, because that is where you get that immediate ascension. You need to hit people where they're hot, right? Because oftentimes what people say is, oh, I want them to go through the course, get more acclimated with who I am. Bro, how many people actually go through the course? Like, go look at your course information right now on how many people actually get through the entire thing. It's probably like less than 10% actually watch the whole thing, right? It's probably less than 50% of people watch through 2 or 3 modules, right? And so you want to hit these people while they're hot immediately. And what I always like to say is, on a webinar, if somebody is willing to pay you $1,000 on the webinar, they're willing to pay 3 to 5 times more on a sales call, because it's much harder to get somebody to literally go swipe their card for $1,000 than to hop on a call and get them to buy something for $1,000, right? And so if you can get them to swipe for $1,000, best believe you have at least 3 to 5x more you can get out of that person. Sometimes obviously more, right? And so make sure that you implement this onboarding call strategy. Give it a number, give it $1,000. I wouldn't give it a crazy number, because you don't want to say like it's the $5,000 onboarding call, right? If you're offering 997. Big pet peeve of mine is like those insane offer stacks that people do. Like, this was an old thing that Russell Brunson did really well, but I think, people aren't stupid, right? They know that like you're not going to say, oh, it's a $50,000 offer, and then you're like, but we're giving it to you for $997. It's like, come on, dude, it's not 50 grand. Like, calm down, dude, right? And so like I hate those offer stacks. I don't think they work great, but offering something that's realistic, that like, oh yeah, I could see this consultation call, this like 45-minute consultation call with an expert being $1,000. Like, all right, cool, right? So you offer that as a 1K bonus, right? So make sure you have this set up. Now what happens is on the thank you page after the person purchases, you need to basically go from, let's say, this is your purchase page, to then what we like to do is we like to add OTOs. So if you have an OTO, you have an extra offer that you want to add. Now, this is really important to make sure that this is the right type of offer, that it doesn't cannibalize your high ticket product, right? And we'll talk about that in a sec. But basically they purchase here, they go to OTO, that'll offer them something else, maybe $297, maybe $497, trying to get a little more money out of them. And then they go to your thank you page, which has your calendar on it. So immediately they go from buying to booking like this, right? And typically what you'll see is you'll get about, I'd say about like 80 to 90% of people actually book right away. Then you just have like your setters or somebody call and try to book the other people in, right? But most people are booking. And so the way that you look at this is I just got 10 booked calls and they all paid me $1,000 to hop on a sales call, right? And so again, this reframe is really important when you run like a low ticket Ascension model. And so the bonus call right here, very, very important to do. And now number 3 is the gap, right? This is the biggest mistake that people make in their low ticket Ascension. We got a client that we just took on recently, and they were basically offering the whole kitchen sink for $997. And so when people would hop on the call, they were like, well, like, what do I get? Right? Like, I mean, it's the same, basically the same thing that I have now with like a couple little bells and whistles, and they're trying to sell it for like 3K or 5K more, right? And so what happens is there's not enough gap between what you're offering on the webinar, what they just bought, and then what you're actually offering in your high ticket product. And so the way that we like to look at this is what can you strip from your $997 product or your low ticket product that has really, really, really high perceived value that you can add into your high ticket, right? And so a few things that you can do. One, it's typically like more like hands-on or like one-on-one support or like group support. And so what we'll do is we'll strip out calls from it. And so what they were doing right here and what we're going to change with them is that, one, they were offering 4x calls a month, right? So basically like 1 a week, right? And it's like, okay, well, if you're offering 1 a week, what's left? What's left to basically give them support with, right? And so what we did was we removed this and we're doing 1x a month, right? So these people are going to get 1 call a month, 1 group call a month, right? Now the second thing that you can add here is you can do DFY, done for you, right? And so any type of done for you shows massive perceived value, right? Even though you could have some VAs sometimes dealing with that, you can have different coaches doing it, but if there's any kind of done for you that you can add, there's a huge gap right there, right? And so when you're offering the course and whatever bonuses and stuff that you get, make sure that it's more about support and done for you. That's going to be that next level, right? So DFY and then support are the 2 things that you need to do to create that gap. And so support can be, you know, like this, what we did right here. So instead of the 4x calls, they're going to get 1 a month, but the support, you're going to say, hey, instead of the once a month, you're going to get 2 times a week group coaching calls, right? So they're going to start getting 2 times a week group coaching calls. And so that's the support side of it. 2, you're going to get 24/7 email access for support, right? 3, you're going to get a one-on-one coach that'll meet with you once a month. And so you see how these things stack up where it's like, oh, wow, like this is what I need. This is what I need to be successful. I get that further support, right? And so that support is really going to build that gap. So support's a big deal. Now done for you is like, and what we do is we actually build your website for you. We set up your CRM for you, like whatever offer this is, right? We find the leads for you. We hand you the leads for you. Like that is the biggest gap right there. And so you can have different layers of the Ascension. So right now, let's say for example, 997 they bought, right? And so level number 1, 997. Level number 2 is you're going to add more of that support, right? So they're going to get like the one-on-one, they're going to get the extra group coaching calls and things like that. And level 3 is DFY. So they're going to get the support plus done for you. And so right here, they get this. For support, they get this, and then they get this and this. And the way that I usually like to like price these is 997, this one will be 5 to about 7K. And this one right here will typically be about 10 to 25K, right? Any kind of done for you, as the more aggressive you are with done for you, the more you can offer here. And remember, these people already paid $1,000. And so they showed you that they're interested. They showed you that they're willing to actually put money into their education. They're willing to put $1,000 up without talking to anybody. Remember, like, dude, I just bought a $1,000 chair recently. Like, it took me like a week to buy a $1,000 chair, right? Like, I like to think that I have a decent amount of money here, but like, I didn't even want to buy a $1,000 chair. I was like, man, dude, freaking chair for $1,000, right? But like, that's what I'm saying. If people are willing to literally swipe their card for $1,000 to learn from you, they're willing to ascend into one of these, right? So recap here. Big number one is reframe. I want you to reframe how you look at these, right? Make sure that you're not looking at this as I need to make money up front. I need to make so much money in the front, right? I want you to reframe this as the whole purpose is to cover ad spend. If you're breaking even on ad spend, you're essentially spending nothing. And number two is onboarding call. You need to get on a call with these people immediately. Do not let them cool off. Do not let them go through the course because they're not going to. You need to offer this onboarding call the first thing as a bonus. Right when they hit the thank you page, they book that onboarding call. And number three is the gap. Create that gap. The gap is the most important part. Even if you don't do this onboarding call, that's fine because at some point you'll have somebody call them, maybe get them on a call. But if you don't have the gap and you don't have the difference between the $997 and a $10,000 product or your $7,000 product, you are not going to get somebody to spend 7 to 10 times the amount to buy it if they can't see the actual gap. So the question is, where are you stuck here? Are you framed into thinking that you have to make all the money up front and trying to hit $1 million a month on a low ticket front end product? Or are you having trouble getting people on the call to actually ascend into your product? Or are you just not creating the gap enough? I hope this video was helpful. And if you are doing direct to cart webinars right now, master the Ascension and I promise you'll double your revenue.